Hello and welcome to The One Show with Christine Blakely.
Yes, the Wanderer has returned. Adrian Chiles, nice to have you back.
Did Kelly Brook miss me yesterday?
Of course she did.
We all know that's not true.
You're back just in
Excuse
time. You see, he's still in holiday mode. Yeah. You're back just in time to welcome the leader of Her Majesty's Opposition, David Cameron.
David,
hello,
lovely
David.
to have you here. Thanks very much. And may we thank you for this?
Yes, this was a
You got
Christmas
one
card
too.
we received. Oh, right, we thought we were special. Thank you very much, David, for that. That was very kind of you.
Did you actually sign that?
Yeah, we wanted to double
That
check
looks like, yeah, I did.
Or did you get people to do it?
No, that is my own terrible handwriting.
Oh, that's nice. That means more to us now, doesn't
Right.
it?
We're very sorry you didn't get one from us. You're on the list for next year.
Good. Well, that's something to know.
At the next election, as with all elections, crime will be a major issue. And one question which comes up time and time again is whether life for serious offenders should mean life.
One family feels so strongly about it, they've petitioned the government to change the law. Others, as Justin Rowlett's been finding out, think that while we should never forget, forgiveness is the only way.
The crimes committed by these infamous murderers will be etched on the public's consciousness forever. For many, the only consolation in the face of their evil acts is that they will never walk free from prison. But most convicted murderers will not spend the rest of their lives behind bars. In Britain today, life actually means 14 years on average, which means most victims' families can expect to see their loved ones' killers released back into society.
The last time he was here on the Sunday for his lunch, he was standing there in that alcove and he was doing a chicken dance. That's the type of character he was. He made us laugh.
John and Katie Johnson's 22-year-old son Kevin was brutally murdered on his own doorstep in May 2007.
Those three young kids making a nuisance of themselves outside, and he just went out there, tell them to be quiet and move them on. And of course they all had knives, and the fight ensued and he was stabbed 4 times and once fatally through the heart.
The killers fled the scene and later that same evening stabbed another man nearby. Understandably, Kevin's death has devastated his parents and fiancée Adele and left his young son Chase without a father.
He looks like his daddy. He's got his personality, and it just breaks me heart, because he's not going to know his daddy, is he?
In November last year, these 3 teenagers were jailed for life for Kevin's murder. The judge recommended they serve minimum sentences ranging from 13 to 17 years.
To me that's not long enough, they should do a full life term.
Yeah, life meaning life.
Yeah. They should come out in a box. They should be in prison till they die.
But according to a leading criminal barrister, the sentences handed to Kevin's killers are far from unusual.
Most people would think that a life sentence means life, but it doesn't seem to. What does it mean?
The judge will pass a life sentence and they set a minimum term, and the minimum term is the bit that the offender has to serve before they can be considered for parole, and it can vary from anything between a few years to actually spending the rest of your life in prison. And that is reserved for really a tiny minority of offenders. They will be the very worst, the serial killers, murders with particularly terrible aggravating features. There's about 36 or 37 of them in the entire country.
Faced with the prospect of his son's killers being released from jail after serving their minimum sentences, John has taken his campaign to Downing Street.
We are here today to present to the government our petition for life to mean life for those that kill.
Today he's meeting with the parents of other murder victims to discuss the future for their campaign.
It's going to go on like this for years to come, we know it is, until the law is changed, but people like us it's too late to have true justice for our kids. The youngsters.
Most of us can understand parents who want to see their child's murderer behind bars for the rest of their lives. But not all parents feel that way. Some try to forgive their child's killer and want to see them rehabilitated and ultimately released. These images show 14-year-old Martin Dinnigan running for his life. Moments later, he was brutally beaten and stabbed to death.
We would never be able to make sense of why
why he chose to do this to Martin.
Martin's killer, 16-year-old Joseph Chin, was sentenced to a minimum of 12 years in prison.
Was 12 years long enough? Is that a life sentence?
At first we thought, what, 12 years? Do you know, how can that justify somebody taking somebody's life? But when we got to the Old Bailey and he was looking at me, and I just thought, do you know what, I pity you so much. He has a life sentence for the rest of his life. Do you know, he has destroyed his life.
Have you forgiven Joseph Chin, the boy who murdered Martin?
Yes, I would say that I have forgiven him. It's a painful process as well, you know, deciding that you're going to forgive somebody for taking your son's life, and it's something that you need to live and cope with every day.
But not all murder victims' families share Lorraine's sense of forgiveness.
As time passes, do you think it might be possible for you to forgive Kevin's killers?
No.
Definitely not.
No. They've
No.
took our son's life away.
No.
We're not going to see him walk down the aisle with his bride. We're not going to see his son be able to play football with him. And that was their moment of madness, and they should pay. Because we are paying for the rest of our lives.
Heartbreaking stories. But David, when should life mean life?
Oh, I think there are cases when you've got sex offenders who kill children, or serial killers, or the most horrific murders. Absolutely, life should mean life, and those people should die behind bars and never get out.
But just a common or garden murder, if a member of your family is the victim of it, you want the perpetrator put away forever, don't you?
You do. I mean, you feel for the Johnsons watching that film. If you're in that situation, I think you might well feel exactly the same. What I would say, though, the life sentence does still mean something. We do, in the criminal justice system, we say murder is different. If you commit murder, you get a life sentence. And even if you do get out of prison, you know, the state owns you for life. And if you do anything wrong out of prison, then you go straight back inside again. So I hope we don't get rid of the mandatory life sentence for murder. I think it's important to say murder is a horrendous crime. It's the worst crime. And so that's why we have this special life sentence that's automatic. You do that, the state has you for life.
But the fact is that most people, like the Johnsons, believe life should mean life in the whole life sentence. I mean, most people still believe we should have the death penalty. So when does a politician say, look, I've got to do what people want, I've got to introduce tougher sentencing?
Well, I don't agree with the death penalty. We voted on it in the House of Commons before, and we can vote again, but I don't think we should have the death penalty. But there are such circumstances when definitely life should mean life. In the most horrific murders and child murders, yes. But I think we need to reassure people that does happen, that should happen.
But are you failing to represent people's views appropriately in a democratic society if most people want longer sentences for these kind of offences?
I think politicians have to listen, and I'd like to see sentences toughened, but I'd also like to see some honesty in the sentencing system. I think that the real outrage you get is that you go to court, you hear the sentence read out, maybe it's a 4-year sentence or a 5, and actually that person's let out halfway through. And I think what we need is absolute honesty. You read out in court, this is the minimum amount of time you're going to spend in prison, and this is the maximum amount of time. And you only get out if actually you behave properly, you work hard, you make amends for your crime. I'd like that for all crimes, not just murder, but all crimes, that you have to behave well in prison and actually earn your release. I think that would restore some honesty and sense to the system.
In fact, just to be clear, in life sentences, the minimum term is the term served, the minimum term served.
Yes.
So you don't get early parole in a life sentence. So.
There's a lot of discussion about this on your blog as well. Justin.
We've got a blog, talking about this. And if people want to get on and talk about these issues, do get onto the One Show blog site and do tell us what you think, because these are big, important issues.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Every winter, 2 million ducks, geese, swans, wading birds of all kinds come visiting from Northern Europe, Greenland, Siberia and Arctic Canada.
They must have been sorely disappointed with the big freeze last week, because they come over here for our relatively mild climate and ice-free conditions.
We're saying, I'll give it a miss next year, and it's going to be that cold. Climate change could be messing with their migration habits, so keeping tabs with tags on the more common birds has become a priority for researchers.
You have to catch them first, of course. Mike Dilger's on their tails.
One of my favourite places to see migratory birds is at Slimbridge in Gloucestershire. Oh, it's a magical place. But today, oh no, I'm not here to birdwatch. I'm here for something distinctly more hands-on. And I'm hoping I'm going to take to it like a duck to water. All the ducks are swimming in the water. I'm here to help with something known as the duck decoy. It's an ancient method for catching ducks that came to Britain over 300 years ago. Thousands were caught for market and ended up being roasted for dinner, served with a delicious plum sauce. Today the decoy has a less gastronomic appeal. It's used purely to research the movements of these migratory birds. And to help me learn the skills of the decoy man, I'm joining Reserve Manager Dave Painter. I spot a peeping Tom. Hey Dean, what have you got?
Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is for you to be quiet, OK? We're going to have to be very quiet here.
You do realise that's quite difficult, Dave?
I do realise I'm asking a lot, but just have a little look through there. Twist that stick.
Ah, fantastic. There's loads of mallard duck. Just completely oblivious to the fact we're here.
That's right, and our job is to entice them into the tunnel so that we can catch them.
I can imagine scaring them away is very easy because they're going to fly off, but how do you actually draw them to you?
Well, this is where we work on a natural instinct that they have against predators. So I'm going to use my dog. This is called her in. Tolly, come in. There she is. This good girl. Small red foxy dog. Now she's going to go out between the screens here. The ducks will see her, and believe it or not, they will actually come towards her.
The natural reaction I would have thought would have been to fly away, but they'd actually come to the dog, do they?
That's what you think, but if you think about it, it makes sense. They're following a predator. They can see it. It's not a threat to them. They want to keep it in sight to see that it's gone away. You can hear it working, can't you?
By weaving in and out, Tolly lures the ducks further up the tunnel. And when Dave thinks the time is right, we'll run back down to do our bit. Whoa! That was unbelievable. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, at least 8 there, Dave. That was sensational.
Yeah, that's very good. Very pleased with that. Yeah, it went really well.
The dog, amazing. Don't they get used to that?
Well, they can do. You might have heard the expression "dog tired." It's not. Doesn't mean you're very tired. It's when the ducks actually get fed up with the dog and they stop reacting, responding to it. So that's where dog tired comes from.
Didn't she do well?
She's a star. Last piece of cheese. Good dog. Well done.
Next up, it's off to the duck hut to ring the birds and take some measurements.
Let's just pop them in here where they're a little bit out of the way.
OK, well, you've got the table ready, haven't you? What's the next measurement we take?
Next thing is to age and sex it. Well, the sex is...
Male.
Is male.
Tell him that. I thought you knew.
He's struggling on that one for a moment there.
I love this gorgeous blue speculum.
The speculum there, looking very handsome.
And of course, the whole point of these is trying to find out about the movements of all these birds.
Britain generally is a fantastic area for birds coming from a huge sort of area of the world's surface. 5 million waterfowl rely on us as a wintering area, and that's something to be very proud of.
With the final measurements in the bag, now comes the fun bit. And I've been waiting for this all day. Lovely.
Great stuff.
Oh. Of course, the decoy man of old would be spinning in his grave at the mere thought of releasing this bird. But for me, it's definitely the best bit. Here goes. Ha ha ha!
Excellent. We're going to let another one-show viewer go there. Very protecting the environment was very much part of your early days as Tory leader. Let's have a look at you in action on the ice.
I won't forget that.
As time goes on, this is probably all melted now, this ice. I mean, we don't hear you talking about it as much. Have you lost interest in it?
No, I still talk about it a lot. I think it's extremely important. That was a fantastic trip to go and see the retreat of the glaciers and what's actually happening in the Arctic. I can tell you the most terrifying thing was hitching the dogs to the sled because they're quite wild and not that easy to manage. And the worst thing is if ever you take your foot off the brake and you're on your way home, they just go and you're left, there in the middle of the...
Make a mental note of that. I might come and use for one.
Yeah. Well, when the Prime Minister was on the show, we gave other members of the One Show team the chance to put some questions to him. And in the interest
of balance, we thought it only fair we do it again.
Yeah. Let's start with our current affairs Supremo, Anita Rani.
Mr Cameron, as we know, the economy is going through a bit of a tricky period at the moment. So what do you recommend? Should people be saving or spending what money they have?
Well, it's up to everyone to do the right thing for themselves. You know, we shouldn't sort of pretend there's one answer for everyone. People have to look at their own financial situation and do what is responsible. Where I think there's a problem in the whole economy is that savers are having a really tough time at the moment because interest rates are low, rightly so, but it means people aren't getting very much income from their savings. So we've said we should cut the taxes on people who save money. That has a good effect because it gives them some money in their pocket to spend if they want to, but it also has a good long-term effect, which it encourages saving in our economy. And in the long term, I think we need a culture of saving rather than the culture of debt. So I think that's a sensible, good in the short term, good in the long term.
But we are being told to spend. What if you just don't need anything? It's serious. I don't really need to buy anything. Why would I go out and spend just to save the economy?
Well, I thought that's why the VAT cut before Christmas, which is going to cost a lot of money, I didn't think that was the right answer. I think if there is money spare, and we've said, you know, try to trim the growth of government spending, I think better to put it in people's pockets by cutting taxes for savers or cutting other taxes. Let people decide how to spend their money or whether to save it, rather than try and dragoon them into the shops.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's Hardeep Singh Kohli's offering.
Hi, Mr Cameron, Dave. You're a bit posh, which is fine. I know a lot of nice posh people. But I want to know is, does the 21st century Conservative Party really reflect 21st century Britain? Wagwan, Dave, wagwan.
You know what that means?
I didn't know what that means. Do you know what that means? I didn't know.
No.
Henry, do you know what's up? How's it going? Straight talk, you have to do a bit of that, yeah.
Short answer, it didn't, but I think it does much more now. One of the big challenges for me is we have 200 members of parliament, but only 19 women MPs. But at the next election, if we win it, you know, we'll have 60 women MPs. It'll be a big change. And likewise, in terms of people from different ethnic backgrounds, right now, the Conservative Party, just a couple of MPs, black, British or British Asian MPs. After the next election, if we do well enough to win, you know, 10. Now, that's not as many as I'd like, but that we are making a big change. I've put the first Muslim woman in British politics to be in a cabinet or shadow cabinet, Saeeda Warsi, I appointed. She's fantastic. And I believe in role models. It's really important.
Isn't part of the problem being posh that people have high expectations of you? So we expect more of Prince Harry, for example, when in fact the truth is we should get off his case. The lad's, he's a bit dim, he must be, to come out with those things and to go to fancy dress parties dressed as a Nazi. You know,
Well, it was what he said was unacceptable, and role models do matter. You know, people do look up to others, and in the armed forces particularly, it's really important that, you know, people who are black British people and British Asian people feel they should be able to look at any organisation, whether it's the Conservative Party, whether it's the judges who sit in judgment on us, whether it's the army. They should think, I can get on in that organisation, I'm welcome, I can get to the top of it. And that's where role models really matter. And you know, I think we need to recognize someone like Lewis Hamilton has done a massive amount for black British youth who think, right, I can get to the top too.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's just a quick one finally from Dan Snow.
Mr Cameron, if you win the next general election, you'll become the 53rd First Lord of the Treasury. So my question is, which previous Prime Minister do you most admire and why? And you get bonus points if you don't say Winston Churchill, because that's a bit obvious.
Yeah. I haven't got much time on this, go on.
Well, everyone's got to say Churchill because, you know, he did defend us in our most important hour of need in 1940, you know, massive hero. But I suppose one I quite admire is Robert Peel, who was an early Conservative leader. He always did the right thing for the country rather than for his party. He repealed the Corn Laws and therefore cut the price of food for families who were surviving on not much money. So he did the right thing, even though it didn't necessarily do him any political favours.
Okay. All week, Carol Thatcher is on the road meeting those people who've left the rat race for a better way of life.
Carol, who have you got for us this evening?
Hi, I'm up in remote Cumbria to talk to two former police officers who've given all that up to pursue their dream. And their new passion is hidden behind those barn doors.
I'm gone fishing.
There can be few better antidotes to the rat race than this. Fishing for trout here in the Lake District are Joe and Georgina, who in their former lives were used to catching rather bigger fry with the Thames Valley Police. Morning, Joe. There's an art to this, isn't there?
I was in charge of quite a big area, and we had 5 police stations and about 400 staff, a big budget equivalent now of about £20 million, so it was a really interesting job.
I was a detective inspector on major crime, and normally I would be number 2 on an inquiry into a murder or armed robbery, serious crimes like that. The pressure was that you didn't actually have time for anything else. You became a 24-hour police officer, and there's a growing realisation, isn't it, there's actually more to life.
Well done.
Oh, not a bad specimen.
It's a beautiful fish. I realised I was not in control of my life, and particularly in the police service where you react to incidents, it controls you.
Their dramatic decision to change their lives came about during a narrowboat holiday.
The phone never stopped, the pager never stopped, and frankly I think if we'd have had a fax on board, they'd have faxed me, you know, details of meetings that were going on. We went out for dinner one evening. Georgina said, "You know that smokehouse up in Penrith?" And I went, "Yes." She said, "It's for sale." So I said, "Oh, really?" And I carried on telling her about this interview. And at the end of the meal, she said, "You know the smokehouse that's for sale?" And I went, "Yes." And she said, "Do you fancy buying it?" And it took me about 4 seconds, and I went, "Yeah, go on then, let's do it."
Okay, it's fantastic. They soon turned that smokery into a thriving business, but then sold it, before settling down to the quiet life in this beautiful corner of Cumbria. But they enjoyed smoking food too much to let it go altogether. This time they turn it into a real cottage industry.
All the time I was thinking, how can I design a little home smoker? And I thought, as I was clearing out this filing cabinet, I thought the best thing to do is to just set fire to the whole lot. Ding, I suddenly thought, hang on, perhaps we could convert the filing cabinet into a smoker.
It's what we call top drawer smoking.
I'm going to do that with my filing. Can't wait. Very soon, that invention gave rise to a new career.
We started smoking food and people come for dinner, and 2 or 3 people said, "Gosh, could you teach us?"
People like to know what's gone into their food, and they like to be more hands-on.
And it's not just fish they smoke.
And I put some onion in there. The main thing we think about when we take on something new is it going to be fun?
I said just a couple of weeks ago to Joe, we meet so many nice people. And she pointed out that actually we may well be meeting nicer people than we met in the ordinary course of events in our former life.
Well, there you go. There are your own recipe sausages.
Good. When you did this downshift, you took an 85% pay cut. Yeah. New attitude towards money altogether?
We work out how much we need to live, and then we go out and earn it. And then when we've earned it, we stop.
Any regrets at all?
I think occasionally when there is trouble in London and, you know, the terrorist threat and whatever, I think, gosh, should we still be there? Because we were very highly trained to deal with that. But it doesn't last long, I have to say.
Well, here I am with the smoking filing cabinet and Joe and George. This story's been such a success, you're now advising others how to do it.
Yes, that's right, Harold. We meet so many people who are so excited about what we've done over the last 7 years that we now teach other people, help other people to do what we did. People who want to get off the rat race, change their lifestyle, or who are facing redundancy, we help them plan and build a new future.
George, what's absolutely key to getting the new lifestyle right?
Well, I think if you want to do something, just do it. And also, if you're going to make a change, make sure that in 12 months' time, you're happier than you are today.
Well, I think your story's been inspirational. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, I'm off to North Yorkshire to talk to a young family also forging a new lifestyle.
Carol, thanks very much. Don't set fire to your filing cabinet at home, please.
It's got to be done.
What would you do if you opted out completely? Perish the thought that you don't win the next election, but what would you, if you just said, I've had enough of this, what would you go and do?
Well, I love growing food, so I mean, that did look quite tempting. Bit of farming, bit of fishing, that would be lovely. But you get so bound up in what I do that it's difficult to imagine doing anything else.
Okay, you must have a filing cabinet though, so you could
Yeah,
start
I
a small...
think I
thought that.
I could start a massive
Finally,
company of it, yeah.
Finally now, just...
One more thing. The All Saints Parish Church in Ilkley has its new cookbook out. Not national news under normal circumstances, we grant you, but inside 2 recipes did jump out at us. One for vegetable and mozzarella parcels, suggested by a certain Gordon Brown.
And another for Italian sausage and meat pasta by the man who wants the PM's job, David Cameron here.
Which leader is the winner when it comes to dinner?
Or which man is leading when it comes to feeding?
Oh, enough. Ian Lee put it to the vote.
They're 2 of the biggest beasts in the political jungle, often going head-to-head on the meatiest issues of the day. But to find out who'd win in a food fight, I've enlisted some a la carte help.
OK, lads, here we go. Sonny, you're representing the Reds, and Scott, you're the Blues. Now, let's get down to economics. You've got £10 each. Ready, steady, go! Come on, lads! Sonny is on fire. Scott is spending way too much time looking through the cheese. Just pick a cheese, man! Pick a cheese! Let's go have a look, see how they've done. You spent £18.13. You went over budget. Naughty, 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 Sonny. Scott, you spent £18.14. There's literally a penny in it, but you lose, I'm afraid, Scott. Sonny, well done. But it's not over yet. For the next challenge, let's see which dish leaves our chefs in hot water. It's the prep test. Ready, steady, cook. To find out which recipe was the most difficult, I'm going to do a scientific medical examination. Stick your chest out, fella. OK, well done, thank you. Sonny, if I can have a...
Right in the middle.
OK, thank you. Ah! Oh dear, oh dear. Well done, Scott, you've won. Congratulations.
But the proof, as they say, is in the pudding.
Gentlemen, it's your 3rd and final task. It's the taste test. Time to poll your public. Away you go.
I prefer the pastry.
My favourite is the pasta.
Definitely the pasta.
Is it pastries?
I, Ian Lee, the returning officer for the best recipe poll, can reveal that the winner is... the Blues! Well done, congratulations.
Stole it from me, you did this time.
All right,
Stole it.
calm down. Come on, let's go and get a bite to eat. I'm starving. Stop complaining.
And you cheated.
All right.
Ian, I take it that was a fix, wasn't it?
No, it was not a fix. It was genuinely your recipe one. It was close.
It was close. I just hope that's not the only contest I win this year.
If it is, it's still something, isn't it,
If
to
it's
talk
a dead
about?
heat, that'd be a good tiebreaker, wouldn't it? We'll just have a cook-off in a really steady
I think if there had been a 3rd recipe, it may have split the vote slightly differently. It could have gone one way. But we have got... This
is his one, is it?
This is Gordon Brown's pastry parcels.
Do you want to go first?
Would you like to try some? Look,
he didn't make it himself. It's not poison, don't worry.
No, don't worry.
Just tuck in.
Let's give it a try. What's it like?
Well, I tried these yesterday. These are the vegetarian option, and I had them yesterday. And I must say, they were delightful.
Let's see if you can, you're tested to say something nice about something Gordon Brown's done. Come on.
Do that all the time.
Slag it off, go on.
Consensus
Use it as a
politics and all
code.
that.
Oh, that's really good.
I didn't believe that at all.
Gordon, you're onto something.
Yes. But.
No, I liked it. I think it's really good.
Do you, now, your recipe, do you actually cook that at home?
I do.
You sure?
I do. I got it out. I cribbed it out of another book, I admit, but I do.
You stole it from a book?
I cook it a lot. It's a really easy recipe, and it's kind of expandable for how many people you've got. And I love cooking. It's a great way of switching off. So, so no, I do.
Very good. So we find out a lot about David tonight, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Fantastic. Absolutely lovely to have you along.
It was. Thank you
feel
very
free
much.
to
take
Yes,
it.
yes.
That's very
bag for
Simple away, yes. Thank you
I've
very
got
much.
Bramson's questions tomorrow. We can kind of, bring it out and have a chat about it.
Yeah.
All right, Ian. Nice to have you here.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Ian.
much.
Nice to finally see you. Thank you very much.
On tomorrow's show, from just upstairs here in the Top Gear office, Richard Hammond will be popping down to join us.
Well, indeed. We'll see you tomorrow at 7. You'll be here, won't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. See you then. Bye-bye.